Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back from the brand new video. A very burnt CJNovo back by the way. In fact, if you want an indication how burnt I am, look at that! I look like one of the frickin' sweeties, man, but you know what? Besides the painful and awkward burns and everything like that, I'm bored. People, I am bored. There's no much Rangers news to talk about instead of maybe like how many times the kit's been leaked in the last 5 weeks. But that's boring old news, right? I actually want to talk about some things with you. So whilst we wait for transfer things to happen in Giovanni's first real transfer window, I thought, let's actually go back and reflect on something we mentioned a couple of months ago I said I was going to do. Let's go back to the Pedro era. The shirt is on. I mean, technically I should be doing the video like this if we're going back to the Pedro era, but I got too many greys and too many bad memories for then. So the cap's gone back on. And actually just have a bit of fun here on the channel and reflect and see what the signings were and where they are now, because trust me, you're going to be surprised about how some of these players' careers ended up going after leaving Rangers. So I know not many people's actually going to click on today's video and everything because it won't interest them, but for those that do, let's have a wee bit of fun. Let's talk about Rangers. And I think we'll start off with a very, very positive one, because this time in this period of Rangers has looked back on horribly, and rightly so with some of the results on the park, and sometimes this transfer kind of gets lost in the translation, but one of the first signings we actually made, one of the most successful signings we made under the Pedro Caixinha era was of course none other than Alfredo frickin' Morelos. That's right, the Buffalo Soldier himself was signed under the regime of Pedro Caixinha, and he's went on to make 224 appearances for Rangers, 113 goals and a very cheeky 51 assists as well, which is a decent wee goal contribution and a decent return for the 1 million we spent under Pedro for our boy Morelos. And I don't need to tell you too much about where Morelos is now, because he's still here doing things for us, and he hopefully will be for a very long time. Next up, we start getting into the meat and tatties, and the reason probably a lot of yous are here. We move from Morelos to Carlos Pena, because it's funny to look back at, we signed the likes of Morelos and everything like that, but that's not who really grabbed our attention. Obviously we talked about it on the channel, he's lethal goal scorer and that, but there was one person that got everyone, and the one person who was the biggest signing during that era for a lot of money, rumoured to be between £3 and £3.5 million to bring Mr. Pena Cartel himself to the football club. Now Carlos Pena, the man played just 14 times for Rangers despite that money investment in him. Now to be fair, in those 14 games he did notch in 5 goals, and a couple of them were very, very nice, and you got to see flashes of brilliance and flashes of reasons why you brought him and why you invested that money in him, but it just never worked out by any stretch of the imagination. 14 games is all we got back for our investment, and I mean we could make a whole story. There could be a documentary made on the failure this was, but he came here, when he was on the park he was good, it was just a struggle to get him on the park, unfit, half cut, it was all a mixture, and unfortunately it was the perfect storm for a bad ending, and he ended up washing out of the football club after a loan, coming back, wiping his nose on Rangers shorts. It was a disaster, and unfortunately the decline has only continued since leaving the football club, as again he's went ahead and joined 5 other teams since being released from us. Again, a painful investment in that, and every single deal and every single move he's made has been a free transfer. Not one other club in the world of football has been willing to gamble on this laddie and pay a wee bit or give him more than 1 year deal, because people just didn't trust the laddie, and that's unfortunate way to end what was a very, very promising career, especially a couple years ago and everything like that before he came to us, and that was supposed to be the boost. It's never quite worked out, despite the odd flashes of brilliance here or there showing what he could do. He just couldn't click it back together, and as I'm currently recording today's video, he is without a club, and he's been without a club since January the 11th. Now I think everyone will probably remember what could have been with Carlos Pena, but the true what could have been transfer in my opinion is the next laddie, Mr. Fabio Cardoso, who had the single best Rangers chant for donkeys. People, unfortunately, just wasn't as good as his chant Actually was. But beyond the fantastic chant, even saying what I've just said there is real injustice to the man, because I think everyone during that period saw something in the lad. He had the makings of a good defender. Again, he was young. We paid 1.5 million for him, but he only went on to make 18 appearances for the football club, which if you're told any of that after the first couple of games he played, we would never ever have believed you. But again, it's another one we invested heavily in and ended up ripping up his contract and paying him off to get him out the frickin' door. You talk about frustrations of this summer and last summer and everything like that. Let's go back and remember all these. Honestly, no wonder I've got grey hairs, people. And this one was just even worse, right? Because we ripped up his contract. We paid the laddie off, and instantly a Portuguese club was willing to come in and pick the laddie up almost within days of us releasing. Could we not have just gave him for free or anything? We had to pay him off and okay, whatever, football club. But anyway, he went back to Portugal and started building up his name again. And then, after a couple of promising seasons, he went ahead and earned a transfer to Porto. People, that's right, the most recent season of football he played 21 times for the Portuguese outfit, playing a couple games in the Champions League and playing his part in helping them win the Portuguese League and becoming Portuguese champions. That's sensational. The turnaround for Fabio Cardoso, who again is now getting shouts when you search on him and everything like that, for people that want to see him slowly be given a chance in the Portuguese national team, as obviously you've got some guys like Pepe and everything like that, Jose Font, guys that's elder statesmen now who's probably playing in the last tournament. Cardoso could be one that's given an opportunity to step in on that. And you look at him, he's only 28 years old, just won the league, playing in the Champions League, possibly making it into the Portuguese team. We had all that. We paid for it 1.5 million years ago, but we didn't give him a chance. We ripped him up, flung him out the door, and to be fair to the lad, he's bounced back and turned his career around, which is good to see. But aye, that will always be what could have been. And you know, I'm kind of enjoying this going positive, going negative, going, because I didn't even just want it to be negative or anything like that. So we'll keep this flow going right now. So where we went from someone who's ended up having a very good career, let's talk about the latter then, shall we? As we go ahead and talk about Graham Dorrans, who I was absolutely delighted at when we brought him in to the football club. I couldn't wait. And to be fair to the laddie, when he was actually able to get on the park, you saw things, especially in his first season at Rangers. You looked at him and went, right, there's a player in there, but it's unfortunate that he was just hit so badly by the injury bug, because despite staying on the books at Rangers for a couple of seasons, he made just 23 appearances for the club, although in that time, I should say, sorry, he did end up scoring 5 goals and grabbing 4 assists, which is not bad turnaround to have. But again, he had that serious injury, he was away for a long time, the team moved on, and when he came back, it just was never going to happen. So he was eventually released again from his contract, losing out on some money. And since leaving Rangers Football Club, he went to Dundee for a season, he went over to Sydney for a season, and then he came back and went back to Scottish football to join Dunfermline, where he wore the captain's armband, and it was expected he would help lead them back to the promised lands, the top division in Scottish football. But it went the exact opposite after a horrific, and I mean horrific, sorry Grant if you're watching this video and everything like that, but Dunfermline couldn't kick their own arse. People, they were dreadful, and they ended up getting relegated from the Championship down to League One. And aye, that's where he now stays at the minute. Now, whether he's going to be there by the time the season starts or anything is up to be seen, but that's how Graham Dorrans' career has turned out since leaving Rangers. But nah, we need to pick the mood back up, so let's move on to Mr. Declan John, who played 31 times for Rangers after initially joining on loan before being made permanent. He played 31 times, he grabbed 3 goals and 4 assists for the Welsh international. And you know, it's funny to think back, because when we got Declan John, it felt like it ticked a box. If you remember back then, we were like, right, well, we're set, he's a young laddie, he's performed on loan, he's earned his move, he's there now forever pretty much, or for a very long time. We can forget about left back, but again, for everything good that Declan John had, again he struggled, and I know the circumstances, the centre backs and that was around him during that time, etc, etc, certainly played its part. But we did eventually cut our losses with Declan John and decide to move on. And again, the emergence of BB after that game against us certainly never helped Declan John's chances at Rangers. But we ended up moving Declan John on for some actual money, people. That's right, we didn't just pay someone off after spending $1 million on them for one fans finally. This is what other football clubs actually do. It was glorious, people. Now again, it wasn't a lot of money, but it's rumoured to be between 800,000 and £1 million as he moved to Swansea. And I mean, it didn't quite work out. Again, he played a couple games, got loaned out to Sunderland, came back to Swansea, then was loaned back out to Bolton, and it was Bolton that was the perfect fit for the laddie. And just like us, he earned a permanent move after a promising loan spell. And to be fair, now he's been given a chance, and again, Bolton are trying again to get up and go where they need to go. Declan John has certainly been one of the most consistent performers, and if you just look at his most recent season, he is certainly performing, as he's played 44 games for Bolton and picked up 12 goal contributions. Now again, they're no taff numbers by any stretch of the imagination, but it shows you where he's going, and it seems he's found his place, his consistency, and it's good to frickin' see. But it's time to go down a level once again, and we move on to Mr. Bruno Alves, who played 25 games for us and notched in 2 goals. And I think as soon as you think of Bruno Alves, you think of the free kick versus Dunfermline, again, sorry, Gran, and free kick versus Hibs, and that just mad game at Easter frickin' Road. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and brutalise this signing because it certainly got us all very excited, and I don't think any of us can actually point holes or pick holes, and say this guy was terrible or anything like that. There is questions about why didn't he play in the Old Firm game and everything like that. He did have his moments and that, but again, he wasn't surrounded by a lot back there. But it never quite worked out. It was never probably going to work out long term anyway, and eventually moved on at the end of the season, and he went back to Serie A as he went ahead and signed for Parma. And to be fair to the laddie, he picked right up where he left off before joining Rangers, and that's playing 7/8 out of 10 every single week as he won performance award after performance award, team of the year shouts, defender of the season shouts over in Italy. That's right, only us could sign someone. He comes here, doesn't perform to the standard we expect, and then literally leave and go ahead and win defender of the year pretty much in the Serie A. It's baffling to think about, but that is what it is to be Rangers Football Club. And after a couple of very promising years at Parma, he moved back to Portugal, where a lot of people was expecting him to finish out his career, but it never quite worked out there, and eventually got shipped out and left over to Greece, and that is where he ended up playing his last bits of football after, again, as far as I can see, promising and praise for the big laddie. But after his time in Greece that season, most recent, he has decided to hang up the boots, put his feet up and enjoy retirement. So cheers to the big man. What a career he went on to have. Moving on to Daniel Candeias now, who joined Rangers for around about £700,000 if the fee is rumoured to believe, and he went on to play 97 times for Rangers, where he picked up 14 goals and a cheeky 25 assists during his time. And you can't really say Daniel Candeias without someone diving into the comments and shouting, "We've still no replaced him." That just follows them, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? We still hear it every single time. And to be fair, I don't think anyone can question his hard work and his tireless nature. And he was one of those players who came into the football club and took us from here to here, in my opinion, and played his role perfectly. His partnership with Tavernier, again, that was such an important transition inside, and he played his part in getting us to where we needed to go. But again, after Gerrard was starting to take us on to the next level, he wanted some guarantees about getting played, because obviously we started doing the inverted winger stuff, and that's not his game at all. And after he wasn't given guarantees, he decided it's best to move on now, where he's given an opportunity to actually play football as his career was starting to wind down. And he went on to leave Rangers for £200,000. That's stinking, isn't it? But imagine his age and the fact he wanted it, didn't play its part in our negotiating, but aye, it wasn't very nice. But what was nice was to see Daniel Candeias go and take his hard work and his effort and his sort of fan favourite draw into him and take it to his next club, as he went over to Turkey and played a couple good years before earning a move to Anaspor. I can't pronounce the name properly, but he's just earned a move there, and that's taken a big step up to the team that finished 5th in the Turkish league. No small clubs like Galatasaray here. Nah. Big club for Daniel Candeias, and it seems to be going very well. Back down again as we move on to Eduardo Herrera, who played 24 times for Rangers and notched in just 2 goals for the centre forward who signed for £1.5 million. That's right, we spent more money on him than we did Alfredo Morelos. But to be fair to Big Sexy, as we called him here on the channel. Because to this day, I am still convinced we only signed that laddie to shift some calendars at the football club, because we didn't sign him to play football for us, because almost from day one you could see we weren't playing to his strengths. He wasn't a part of the plan, and some of his substitute appearances that he was given, like here's 14 seconds, on you go and make a name for yourself. It was baffling and a real indication of where we were as a team. We spent that money for a boy that wasn't going to be playing. Silly transfer. It never made any sense at the time, despite him being a solid player. If you play to his strengths, big target man, good with his feet, but that's no how we wanted to play, ladies and gentlemen. And his back and forth for Rangers almost became a meme, because no one, despite him being heralded in Mexico and whatever that, was willing to pay what we were paying him on wages. No one would come close, even though we were offering him to teams for free. No one could come close to paying his wages. And again, that's a summary of where we were as a club as well, because he had a couple of loans and it went on for 3 years. People, right? He became like Santa Claus. You only saw him once a season, and that was during the tweet saying he's been loaned out again. But eventually, after some work permit issues in 2020, he was released from the football club, and again he just went straight back to Mexico, where again he had some moments. He scored a couple of big goals, and he went on to finish his career playing for 2 more Mexican sides before again hanging up the boots where he stands right now, despite some rumours about him coming back and everything like that. It looks like he is retired, but again, for the big man, it was a disappointing spell. Now, as you might have noticed, we've been going up and down here, but it's time just to focus on the... I mean, I could technically mention Ryan Jack, because on paper, again, he came in during the summer and everything like that, but again, he was signed in the January. It was supposed to be done in place before Pedro got there, depending on who you talk to. So I guess, if we wanted to be positive, we could also mention Ryan Jack in there, which, again, you didn't need for me to say, you know what I think about that laddie. But if we're talking about the real first transfer window, the backing of Pedro Caixinha, like we can't wait to see the backing of Giovanni van Bronckhorst, we now need to move on to some real flops, people. And the first one is going to be Dalcio, who played 3 games and won 1 corner versus Hamilton. And that's all I've got to say about Dalcio. Genuinely, I've got nothing else to add about the man, the myth, the non-legend himself. But after the disappointing loan spell, he went back to Benfica. He went back out on loan, had another disappointment, came back to Benfica, and eventually, after being released at the end of his deal, he moved to Greece. And to be fair to the lad, he started to turn his career that looked like it was just hemorrhaging people back around, and he started playing fullback, he started playing right wing, he started playing left wing, he started playing centre. He pretty much started playing wherever he could actually get to play football, and I like that, you know what I mean? That's somebody that's scrapping and fighting for his life. And after a couple of very promising years in Greece playing for a couple of sides, it is heavily rumoured right now, as I'm making today's video, that he's going to be going over to Cyprus and joining APOEL. That's all I need to say, because that's one of the Football Manager references. But whenever you see those letters, you go, oh no, I'm in for a tricky European game. And if that goes through, that's a sensational move to that laddie, who again grabbed his career that looked like it was on the down, and he's been fighting tooth and nail since. And all the best to the man, especially if he makes that move to Cyprus, which should be announced as I'm searching today's video over the next couple of days. And the last one in terms of the first real transfer window from Pedro Caixinha is one that you're probably going to hear in Rangers pub quizzes, or you're going to see online when someone says, name a random Rangers player that you might have forgot. Well, here's one for you people. Do you remember Aaron Nemane? Do you? Well, he made 6 appearances for Rangers after joining on loan from Manchester City. Remember that partnership we had with Man City, Brandon Barker and all that? Aaron Nemane was the first one in that partnership routine, and probably should have told us everything we needed. But to be fair to the young lad, he was nowhere near ready to come and play for Rangers week in and week out. It was almost an unfair transfer. And away again, played just 6 times, all substitute appearances. And after going back, he went out on loan again over to Holland. He then came back to Man City after a disappointing loan. He went out to Belgium, and after a disappointing loan in Belgium, he came back to Man City and was released. But just like the last laddie we spoke about, Dalcio, he didn't just take it lying down and just sort of give up or anything. No, the wee man rolled his sleeves up, went down to the lower leagues of English football, joining Torquay earning a wee bit of praise and then getting a move to Notts County where he currently plays right now, week in and week out. So aye, that is the Pedro Caixinha errors. That's how the backing. We gave them horrific transfers, horrific signings, horrific handling of these signings. I mean, if you look at pound for pound we spent and end up paying them off, it is genuinely baffling what we were doing as a football club, and also gives you a sense of appreciation of how we're currently. Again, it's not perfect by any means necessary, but I'm talking about in terms of transfers. It's night and day, ladies and gentlemen, where you've got a couple of bright sparks who currently still play for a team. Again, Ryan Jack, if we're cheating, and Alfredo frickin' Morelos. But a couple of them have been real flops and not really turned out to be anything despite money being spent. And some of them who we didn't give enough time, who we didn't back, who we never stuck by long enough, has turned their careers around and having solid careers, especially our boy Fabio Cardozo, sorry. So, aye, I was going to sing the song there, but I won't. All I'm going to do is actually wrap up today's video. Again, I know no one's going to click on today's video, but if you did enjoy it, let me know in the comment section below. And if you want me to go back in the past and talk about other errors, I could do Souness's first, I could do Sir Walter Smith's first transfer. I could do any year you want. We could go back and look at the managers and see how they were backed, what happened to them. Could be a bit of fun we could do in the channel every now and again. Let me know if you want to see more and what transfer error, the first signings, blah blah blah, that you do want to see. That would be tremendous if you could get involved and help steer the channel the ways you want to see. Or if you didn't want to see it, just didn't comment, didn't click on it, and I'll know that this content's terrible for me. But I just tried to add something different, you know what I mean? Instead of doing the tried and tested end of season content every single time, just trying to add some freshness to the channel and entertain you the best way I can. But aye, best way I can entertain you now is to wrap up today's video. So take care of yourselves, everyone. I've been CJ Norrington. All the best and bye bye.